Hello, Star Trek fans and movie buffs, and welcome to another episode of Cine Nerd Presents Blerd Trek. I'm your host, Will Polk, producer and co-host of the Cine Nerd Podcast, and today we're diving into a very special occasion. It's the 45th anniversary of Star Trek the Motion Picture. This film brought Gene Roddenberry's vision to the big screen and set the stage for many cinematic voyages with the Starship Enterprise. As we celebrate this milestone, I'll be sharing my thoughts on what worked well about the film, some aspects that didn't age as gracefully, and why this film, in my opinion, has quietly earned its place as one of the better Star Trek films of all time. So grab your communicator, adjust your tricorder, and let's beam right into it. Let's start with a bit of history. The original series, which debuted in 1966, was beloved by fans, but never quite found mainstream success during its original 3-year run. It was canceled by NBC, yet the fans, those wonderful, passionate Trekkers or Trekkies, whichever you prefer, wouldn't let it die. After the show was canceled, Star Trek went on to have a cult following and eventually found its way and home in syndication, allowing the fan base to grow. But by the 1970s, Star Trek was everywhere. Animated series, books, conventions, and it became clear that the Star Trek universe was something much bigger than a TV show. So, in 1975, Paramount Pictures decided to make a leap and bring the crew back for a movie. The film had a rocky start, as many things do in Hollywood. So it just was decided to not go the route of a movie, but instead it was going to be a TV revival with a project called Star Trek Phase 2. However, once Star Wars became a big hit in 1977, Paramount rethought their strategy and turned Phase 2 into the motion picture that we know today. The project quickly expanded from a small TV budget to a full-fledged blockbuster. But this transition from TV to film wasn't smooth. There were rewrites, delays, budget overruns, but eventually on December 7th, 1979, Star Trek the Motion Picture made its way to wide release in theaters. The film was directed by Robert Wise and was based on a story by Alan Dean Foster, and the screenplay was written by Harold Livingston, and it's the only Star Trek film produced by Gene Roddenberry. But that's a story for another day. It became the fourth highest grossing movie of the year and earned 3 Academy Award nominations for Best Visual Effects, Best Art Direction, and Best Original Score. Now, let's talk about what worked really well in the film. First and foremost, the motion picture is undeniably a visual masterpiece for its time. Director Robert Wise took full advantage of the big screen. From the opening sequence when we saw the 3 Klingon battlecruisers approaching V'ger, to the scenes where we see the Enterprise and dry dock, and also leaving dry dock and going in her full glory through space, it's clear that the film was about showcasing the beauty of space travel and the grandeur of the Star Trek universe. The special effects, especially considering the time, were groundbreaking. The V'ger cloud, the interior of the ship, and the long, almost meditative sequence as the Enterprise approaches V'ger all contribute to an atmosphere that's unlike any other film in the franchise. The score by Jerry Goldsmith is another highlight, becoming an iconic piece of Star Trek music, so much so that it became the theme for Star Trek The Next Generation in 1987. It's sweeping, orchestral, and gives the film a sense of grandeur, bringing that cinematic quality to the film that Star Trek had never really seen before. For me, it's definitely one of the best soundtracks in Star Trek history, if not in film history. Now, for some of the more problematic aspects. For many fans, the pacing of the motion picture is its biggest drawback. The film moves at a glacial pace, as some viewers found the long, drawn-out sequences of the Enterprise slowly navigating through space to be, well, boring. It's a far cry from the action-packed, fast-paced Star Trek films that came later. Some of that is due to the film's meditation on big ideas, like humanity's place in the universe and the evolution of intelligence. But others might say it feels like a TV show stretched too thin into a 2-hour movie. Another thing that some viewers didn't love was how the characters, in some instances, felt kind of flat. With the exception of a few moments of personal tension, the relationships between the crew members didn't quite have that same emotional weight that we later see in other Star Trek films. It was almost like the characters were just going through the motions, and quite literally, they were in some sense from going from one space adventure to another. So, has the motion picture aged better with time? In many ways, yes. The film's philosophical themes of artificial intelligence, existential discovery, and humanity's place in the universe are more relevant today than ever before. We're living in an age where AI and space exploration are rapidly advancing, and many of the ideas that the motion picture explores feels more forward-thinking than they did in 1979. And if you watch it today, you can appreciate how the motion picture set the tone for everything that came after it in the Star Trek franchise. The vision of Star Trek as a serious exploration of humanity's future rather than just a weekly space adventure or was established in this film. Now, let's talk about why Star Trek the Motion Picture may be one of the low key, maybe one of the best Star Trek films out there. Sure, it's not the most action packed film in the series. Yes, it's a little slow at times, but it is, without a doubt, one of the most cerebral, thought provoking entries in the franchise. The film asks big questions about what it means to be a human, about evolution, and the relationship between creator and creation. It also sets up everything that we love about the original series: the camaraderie of the crew, the leadership of Kirk, Spock's internal conflict, and the bonds that Kirk and Spock share. Those moments are in there, even if they aren't always front and center. The film explores the beauty of space in a way that few films have ever done before. It's contemplative, it's quiet, it's awe inspiring, rather than explosive and bombastic. For those reasons, Star Trek the Motion Picture might just be one of the most unique and underrated entry in the franchise. It's the one that gave us the foundation, the sense of scale, and a philosophical tone that would shape everything that followed. So there you have it. 45 years after its release, Star Trek the Motion Picture remains a fascinating part of the Star Trek legacy. It may have been divisive in 1979, but it's clear that with time, its visionary qualities have stood the test of time. Whether you love it or if you find it slow, you have to respect the ambition behind it. Now, whether you're a long-time Trekker or Trekkie or a newcomer to the franchise, the motion picture has something unique to offer. Thank you for watching another episode of Cine Nerd Presents Blerd Trek. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. And what I definitely want you to do is please share your thoughts on Star Trek the Motion Picture. What did you love about it? What did you think it could have done better? Until next time, live long and prosper, and the human adventure is just beginning.